What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for December 3rd, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Tuesday edition of the podcast. It is Tuesday, so that means it's time for a little positivity / motivation. And this quote comes from Eleanor Roosevelt, and it goes, "To handle yourself, use your head. To handle others, use your heart." And I love this quote. And I think so often in situations we react with emotions. And a lot of times by reacting to things that are happening to us with emotions, it leads us to not necessarily use our heart when handling others. We panic, we blame, we freak out, and don't really take responsibility and take the time to really survey the situation, know what's going on. And I think sometimes it's just better to breathe, or whatever your technique is, count to 10, walk away, come back to it later, whatever works for you, and then act. And then you have empathy with the way you react when you use your head. Because sometimes in the moment, we're just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then if you take a minute and sit and think about it and use logic when you're dealing with things, a lot of times with a clear head, you're able to handle things clearly and then be able to show empathy and handle others. Because sometimes maybe you're dealing with somebody who also is reacting in an emotional way. And a lot of times, even like if it's with a spouse, a friend, parents, siblings, whoever, coworkers, I've seen it. I've done it with coworkers before. If two people are coming at each other, reacting emotionally and not using your heart, that's when a lot of times things. So just remember, when you're handling yourself, use your head. Step away. Make a smart decision. And when you're handling others, use your heart. And I think, especially this time of the year, with gratitude and giving and all that other good stuff, I think it's better to handle others with your heart. But when you're dealing with yourself, use your head. Think logically, make smart decisions. If that means walking away and dealing with it at a later date, that's the way to go. But like I said, I really like that quote. Hopefully that will help you as you go through your weeks. All thanks to Eleanor Roosevelt. To handle yourself, use your head. To handle others, use your heart. And that is our Tuesday motivation and positivity. All right, some quick housekeeping notes. Be sure to follow me on social media, Jimbo_Mont on Twitter and TikTok, at Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Continue to spread the word. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like, comment, all that other good stuff there. And it is Giving Tuesday. So if you have not given to our gift and food drive yet, it's all food-based now. If I have the list posted, if you want the reverse advent calendar items, let me know. It's a fun thing to do with kids. But today would be the day to do it. And that every little bit helps, even if it's $5. The link to the GoFundMe is in the description. If you want to Amazon items to me, I was actually at the Matty Ann Dixon Community Cupboard yesterday, dropped off $500 in Target gift cards. And that was amazing. It felt so good. And it's a testament to you guys. Just thank you. They were ecstatic. So $500 in Target gift cards went to help out our friends and neighbors. But it's all about the food donations now. They have their list. You can do it yourself. They did say if you go, make sure you mention this day in Philly sports history, so that way they know which fundraiser it's for. You can Amazon items to me. I will drop them off the week of December 16th. It's going to be a little different. I'm not going to probably be able to get the kids involved this year just due to their schedule and the Matty Ann Dixon schedule. They asked for the donations between 12 and 2, but I will be going over, excuse me, at some point during the week of December 16th. But there's still plenty of time left to donate. It is Giving Tuesday, so consider giving a donation either financially or one of our items off of the reverse advent calendar. The link to the GoFundMe is in the description. If you have any other questions, you can hit me up offline. But speaking of the reverse advent calendar, today's item is laundry detergent. I'm going to have the kids bring up a couple bottles from the basement just to take part in it. We have like a little advent calendar set up in the kitchen. They pull the drawer out and they pull the items. So looking forward to that. But it is Giving Tuesday, so consider donating something. But if you have any questions, let me know. But they were very, very grateful for the donation with the Target gift cards yesterday. And it was just awesome to just go in there and be like, here you go. All right. Our 25 days of kindness. This one is very near and dear to my heart. And usually this time of the year is when things start running low in your kids' classrooms. And depending on which school district you're in, there might be other needs. But I think it's fair to say it doesn't matter what district you're in. The kids need supplies. The teachers need supplies. I don't want to go on a long rant about the state of the educational system, but we get shit on all the time in the education field. And for those of you who are new, this is a little side gig for me. I'm trying to make it a full-time thing, but my full-time job is in education, so I know this all too well. But today's 25 days of kindness. Ask your kids' teachers if they need any supplies. I reached out to both of my kids' teachers yesterday. One said they're in pretty good shape, but everybody's getting cold, so they needed tissues. So I spent like $20 on tissues. The other one needed Expo markers and a couple classroom sets of Crayola markers. Again, $25. Doesn't even have to be that much. You can get one pack for $4 on Amazon. But ask your kids' teachers if they need any supplies. It's much appreciated coming from one educator to another and just knowing how things go. So that is our act of kindness today. Ask your kids' teachers if they need any school supplies, because this is, like I said, typically the time of the year when glue sticks dry out, markers get lost, kids get cold, so tissues. So all of that helps your kids' classroom. And it's just a nice way to say thank you to your kids' teachers for essentially putting up with your kids. And if they're anything like mine, my kids are always good in school, and then they come home and they're terrible. Just kidding. My kids are awesome. But ask your kid's teacher if they need any school supplies. All right, let's put a bow on the Eagles-Ravens and start moving ahead. This is something we've been doing all season, not spending too much time on the previous game. But let's start with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. And I asked you, who was the GOAT of the game? And again, we have some new listeners. So the GOAT of the game is essentially the MVP. Just a play on Philly GOAT, who is our one of our partners here. But GOAT in a good way, not GOAT in a bad way. I had some people reach out and say, wait a minute, these guys played well. Why are they the GOAT? So I make sure it's all capital letters, the GOAT of the game. And for the first time in a long time, it's not Saquon Barkley. Saquon and Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean all tied with 40% of the vote. Poor Jalen still is yet to get a go to the game. I'm sure at some point he will. So it's a tough one. But based on the way that game went, I'm going to give the tiebreaker vote and go with Zach Bond and Nakobe Dean as the GOATs of the game for the Eagles-Ravens game. Thank you, as always, for participating in the question of the day. There will be another one later in the show. All right, so kind of wrapping this up, and I kind of went yesterday without looking at anything. And much to my surprise, everybody's high on the Eagles right now. And there were some people I've talked to and just some callers into sports talk radio and just some things I saw on social media that was like, whoa. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's not start jinxing and things like that. And a couple of years ago, we talked a lot about old Philly versus new Philly. And the whole jinxing and not getting too far ahead of ourselves, that's an old Philly mentality. That's an old loser mentality. And I think it's fine. Feel good about this team. This is the new Philly mentality. Feel good about this team. It's okay. You deserve it. This team is good. This team is a legitimate Super Bowl contender. So don't feel bad and fall into those old Philly mindsets where we're like, oh, the bottom's gonna fall. Hey, it might, but enjoy it, because just 1 year ago, we were 10-2 at this point last year too. It was the same weekend last year when the 49ers boat raced us out of the link, and we weren't feeling good. We were 10-2 and not feeling good. Rightfully so, as we saw how that, but enjoy it. It's okay. The new Philly mentality. Enjoy this team. This team and the Phillies completely separate entities. Don't say, "Oh, well, look what happened to the Phillies when we started." Enjoy it. This team is good, and I've been talking about it for a couple weeks now. Nick Sirianni is a good coach. He has them motivated. He has them ready to play. Yesterday, I watched a video after the game. He gave his post-game speech and said, "We're coming into work tomorrow." They all cheered. This team wants to work to get better. So this is a whole this is not last year. So enjoy this. Have that new Philly mentality. I didn't mention this yesterday, but we did win our bet. We're now 7-5 on the year betting on the Eagles. The under hit too. I said I was like I thought that total was way too high, and it was. So the under came in as well. I was listening to the morning show. Seth Joyner's always on, and this goes right into the new Philly mentality. Seth Joyner, who is notorious for just being brutally honest and tough on this team, is impressed with this team. He loves this team. He thinks they're the best team in the NFL. And Seth Joyner knows his stuff. And like I said, typically he's the one that's like poking holes in it and trying to snap people into reality. Seth Joyner's impressed with this team. And if Seth Joyner's impressed, go out, enjoy this team because you deserve it. Didn't mention this yesterday, but just going through my notes from the game. Cooper DeJean's tackle on Derrick Henry. And yeah, he didn't kind of take him head on in the open field. But the fact that he wrapped him up, picked him up, and put him on the ground was incredible. We got ourselves a player there, and I think it's contagious. And I think what was missed in that, because everybody looked at Cooper's tackle, was there was a 3 or 4 Eagles ready there. Like, he wasn't getting that first down if he did break Cooper DeJean's tackle. So this team is all over the place. All right, I mentioned this slightly yesterday, but we've been breaking down the season into pods, 4-game pods. Now it's a 17-game season. We have our final 5-game pod. 4 of the next 5 are at home. You have the Panthers, Steelers, Commanders down in Washington, then finish up with the Cowboys and Giants. So that leads us to today's question of the day. What will their record be over the next 5? I think minimally they have to have a winning record. They have to go 3-2. At some point, they're going to lose a game. What game is that? I don't know. Likely, somehow they're going to end up losing one of the division games, and that's fine. It's very, very tough to go 5-0 or 6-0 in your division. So likely that'll be one of the games. They might drop another one. It might be a meaningless game. But the question is, what do you have? How many wins in the next 5 will the Eagles get? 267-495-8531. That's the Back to the Future voice and text line. Get that. Anything else Philly sports related off of your chest. Like I said, I'm thinking minimum 3 is what they need. But how many do you got? I mean, we weren't expecting 4-0 over the last 4-game pod. We'll certainly take it. That's at this point, they're 4-0 in the past 2 4-games pods. So we'll take it. But how many games do you have them winning in the next 5? Hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Dallas Goedert did suffer that knee injury. Apparently he's week to week, likely, or not likely, I'm pretty sure he's out this week, might miss 2 weeks. It's time for Grant Calcaterra to step up. I talked about that way back in the preseason preview. That is he the next guy in line in that succession of tight ends. I want to mention this too, because the third quarter wasn't that good for the Eagles. They couldn't do much on offense. The defense was out on the field most of the game. But I want to mention their conditioning and the fact that they just kept coming. They did not get tired. They did not wear down. That was an issue last year, especially with Jalen Carter hitting that rookie wall. And they just seemed to just be a well-conditioned team. Nick Sirianni mentioned that in his press conference yesterday, that's on the players. Like, they can give them the conditioning plan, but the players have to execute that. The players have to want to do it. And I think you're seeing they're not making a ton of mistakes. Sure, they had some bonehead penalties in the first quarter, but on defense, they're not missing tackles. They're not having breakdowns and things like that. And I think that's a testament to Sirianni, the coaching staff. But again, the players too. They're playing smart football because they're not tired. They're conditioned well. And that's going to bode well as the weather starts getting colder, as we wind down the season and get into the postseason. You want to have the team with the most condition. I mean, they're going to be able to come at you for 4 quarters, which is great. I wanted to mention the special teams really have turned it around since the beginning of the season, whether it's the punt coverage, just tackling, wrapping up, things like that. They've been playing well, and it's really, truly been a full team effort for this Eagles team. And the last thing from my notes, and I didn't hear many people talk about this, or anybody talk about it for that matter, but a couple times there in the first quarter when they were struggling, there was 2 different times the camera went over. Once it was C.J. Gardner-Johnson, had the team rallied around him, kind of regrouping, like, listen, we need to play our game. I don't know exactly what he said, but really rallying them. And then another time, Jalen Hurts did the same thing with the O-line, Saquon, and A.J. Brown. So I think leadership was one of the questions coming into this season. And the fact that you have C.J. Gardner-Johnson really stepping up as the leader of the defense, and Jalen Hurts, who is your quarterback, who you want to be the leader of the team, pulling everybody together and everybody actually buying into what they're saying, and then you see it on the field, I think is incredible. So that, pretty much wraps up the Eagles-Ravens. We're on to the Panthers. It's going to be a sneaky tough game. I think this game is going to be a lot tougher than what we think. The Panthers have been playing well lately. We've talked a couple times about trap games. This could be a trap game, but we'll have more on that as the week progresses. But again, feel good. Feel good. Have that new Philly mentality. Feel good about the Eagles. Be sure to get some Christmas shopping done at phillygoat.com. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. They got coolers. They got coffee, T-shirts, hoodies, hats. You name it, they got it. Go check them out and use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. Then check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast, doing great things over there. That is available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. Sixers are in action tonight down in Charlotte. It's an NBA Cup game. The news is not good, though. Joe is out, knee management and personal reasons, which lots of speculation about what the personal reasons are. Did his wife have a baby? Is it deeper than that? Is it stemming from the press conferences and the team meeting and the leaks and things like that? Nobody knows. The Sixers are tight-lipped. Joe's not talking, so I don't know. It's not even worth at this point really getting upset. But the news got even better because Andre Drummond is out for the Sixers tonight with an ankle injury. This team's a garbage, dumpster fire, garbage, absolute garbage. It's frustrating. And again, it just kind of don't really want to waste our time on the Sixers right now, but that's the news from the Sixers. All right, today we're going to go all the way back to 1950. And on this day in 1950, the Eagles lost to the Browns 13-7 out at Cleveland Municipal Stadium. This game was played in heavy rain, which obviously made the conditions sloppy. The field was muddy. The 2-time defending champion Eagles were only limited to, I shouldn't say only, were limited to 167 yards, turned the ball over 4 times, including a 30-yard pick six. Defensively, though, the Eagles were very solid in this game. They held the Browns to just 69 rushing yards. And that's it. The Browns did not attempt a pass. They won a game 13-7, did not attempt a pass. They had Otto Graham as their quarterback, who's one of the greatest of all time, and they didn't attempt a pass. Technically, I guess they attempted one pass, but it was called back due to penalty. But they won a game without any official pass attempts in the stat line. And the story behind this goes that this was the Browns' first year in the NFL. Season opener, they beat the Eagles, who were the two-time defending champs, 35-10 at Franklin Field. Otto Graham threw all over them, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns. But after the game, since the Browns came from the old AAFL, nobody took them serious. They were like, it was a fluky win, whatever. The Eagles, people around the NFL were like, they're not that good. They're inferior to us. Well, Paul Brown, the coach of the Browns, was like, no. He wanted to prove that the Browns belonged in the NFL and were one of the elite teams. So he wanted to show that he could beat you passing and running. So part of the game plan that day was that they were going to pound the ball. It certainly helped that it was rainy and muddy out for them. And in the process, this ended the Eagles' hopes of returning to the NFL championship game for the 4th straight year. They were eliminated from playoff contention. Now, back to the no pass attempts. According to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, it's only happened 4 times in NFL history that a team has not attempted one pass in a game. And ironically, the teams that have not attempted pass attempts in a game are undefeated. 3-0-1 in games in which they did not attempt a pass. The Steelers did it twice. The Browns did it. And I think the Lions did it in the 1930s. But that's it. And the teams that have done it are 3-0-1. Steelers, like I said, have done it twice. And to Paul Brown and the Browns' credit, they did win the NFL championship in 1950, proving that they belong in the NFL. But on this day in 1950, the Browns beat the Eagles 13-7 in a game in which they did not attempt a pass. It was only the 4th time in NFL history, likely the last time. I think the closest it's come since. There was a game a couple years ago up in New England where the winds were really bad. I think the Patriots attempted 3 passes that day, but the Bills ended up beating them. But don't see it often. Likely we'll never see it again. And it happened on this day in 1950. The Eagles on the losing end of a 13-7 score and just could not get it going offensively against the Cleveland Browns, who were in their first year in the NFL, would go on to win the championship. And yes, Cleveland did win a couple championships back in the 50s and 60s. I know for some of us it's hard to believe, but Cleveland did win some NFL championships. All right, finally today, we're going to continue our spotlight on forgotten teams in Philly sports, teams that you either did not know existed or forgot were teams in Philly. And today we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Giants. Philadelphia Giants were a Negro League team. They played at Columbia Park, which is in Strawberry Mansion. They were in existence from 1902 to 1909, and they were one of the best teams in black baseball. They won 5 Eastern Division titles in 6 years before they disbanded. They had some good players, too. 6 Hall of Famers, including Rube Foster and Pop Lloyd, who we've talked about on this podcast before, Frank Grant, Pete Hill, Louis Sintap, and Saul White, who was one of the founders of the team. But the Philadelphia Giants are today's forgotten teams, one of the best Negro League teams to ever play, especially during their era. And they played down in Strawberry Mansion at Columbia Park from 1902 to 1909 before they started. There was all kinds of different Giants then. I think there was a Mount Airy Giants. One faction went to New York. I think there was one in Germantown even too. So everybody kind of spread out. But the original Philadelphia Giants played from 1902 to 1909, and they are today's forgotten team in Philly sports history. On this day in 1950, Eagles lost to the Browns 13-7. Browns did not complete a pass attempt, one of 4 times it's happened in NFL history, according to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And likely will be the last time. Teams 3-0-1 in those games, ironically enough, which is just, could you imagine a game with, I know we've moved to a passing league and it's kind of the pendulum swinging back to running backs, but could you imagine a game with no passing attempts for a team and they win? Tough to imagine. We'll have more as we go toward the Panthers game on the Eagles-Panthers. Be sure to hit me up on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Let me know how many wins you think the Eagles will have in their next 5. It is Giving Tuesday. If you're so inclined, please donate to our fundraiser, whether it's a food or a supply donation, monetary, whatever you can. Please, 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 let's help the people at the Matty N. Dixon Community Cupboard out and help spread some holiday magic for our friends and neighbors. We will reluctantly have an update on the Sixers tomorrow. But remember, as you go through your weeks, to handle yourself, use your head. To handle others, use your heart. And that comes from Eleanor Roosevelt. And that's a good way to end the podcast today. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for December 3rd, 2024. My name is Jim Montgomery. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.